Question number 1. Different amount of forces are applied on 4 balls of different masses. The respective acceleration of each ball is given in the table. So, what is the maximum force applied on the ball?
Strong choice. 2 is the right answer.
Question number 2. Alicia is taking an all-day ride on her bicycle. The graph shows how far she is from home at different times during her ride. During which time period is Alicia moving fastest?
Nice selection. 1 hours is the correct and valid answer.
Question number 3. Velocity versus time graph of a ball of mass 50 g rolling on a concrete floor is shown in the figure below. What will be the frictional force of the floor on the ball? Right again. So 5-9 is a valid answer. Question number 4. You are trying to push a heavy block of unknown mass with 250 N force. The block does not move. Find the force of friction on the block from the ground. Correct response. 250 N is the most accurate answer. Question number 5. Pushing a child on a swing is easier than pushing an adult on the same swing because the adult has more mass and requires more force to accelerate. You got it? Your choice Newton's second law is right. Question number 6. This person bought coffee and put it on the seat next to them. If they stopped quickly and the coffee spilled, which law would that represent? Nice work. You chose Newton's first law and it is correct. Question number 7. A net force of 15 N is exerted on an encyclopedia to cause it to accelerate at a rate of 5 mems s2. Determine the mass of the encyclopedia. Well picked. M equal to 3.0 ts is the correct answer. Question number 8. If one sphere is raised and released, how many will swing outward on the other side according to Newton's third law of motion? Good job. Your answer 1 works well here. Question number 9. The diagram below show the forces acting on a soccer ball. In which of the diagrams will the ball remain motionless? Great W is the accurate answer. Question number 10. A motorcar is moving with a velocity 100 km/h and it takes 4 seconds to stop after the brake is applied. Calculate the force exerted by the beaks on the motorcar if its mass along the passengers are 1000 kg. Right choice. 7500 ms2 is the best answer. Question number 11. Which one of Newton's laws of motion best explains why the dishes do not move when the tablecloth is removed? Smart pick. Newton's law of inertia is the correct choice. Question number 12. An empty truck and a fully loaded truck are next to each other at a traffic light. When the light turns green, the lighter truck increases speed more quickly. Which of these best explains this situations? Well reasoned. Newton's second law is the correct choice. Question number 13. On the picture, the balloon pushes the air right and the balloon goes left. Which of Newton's laws is this? Excellent. Newton's third law is a brilliant choice. Question number 14. An object in motion will to stay in motion until an outside force acts upon it. Clear logic. Your choice Newton's first law is sound and 100% true. Question number 15. A magician pulls a tablecloth out from under dishes and glasses on a table without disturbing them. Valid point. Newton's first law is true. Question number 16. When a cannon fires a cannonball, we observe Newton's third law. Which force is the reaction force? Good thinking. The cannon moving backward is the right answer. Question number 17. A runner has a momentum of 720 kg/m and is traveling at a velocity of 5 ms. What is his mass? Correct, 144 kg is the right answer. Question number 18. When a number of forces acting simultaneously on a body bring about a change in its state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line, then these forces acting on the body are said to be on track. Opposite forces is the correct answer. Question number 19. When all the forces on an object are equal and opposite, and the net force is 0, that's dash. You're right. Balanced forces is the correct answer. Question number 20. Dash is the sum of all forces acting on an object. It is capable of accelerating a mass. Smart move. Net force is an accurate answer. Question number 21. A constant retarding force of 80 N is applied to a body of mass 50 kg, which is moving initially with a speed of 20 ms. What would be the time required by the body to come to rest? Great thinking. 12.5 is the right choice. Question number 22. A cricket ball of mass 2 kg is moving with a velocity of 1.2 ms. Find the impulse on the ball and average force applied by the player if he is able to stop the ball in 0.2 ns. Well done, 1.2 ns is the right choice. Question number 23. Distance traveled by a car in first 5 mins is the same as the distance it covers in next 5 mins, which is same as the distance covered by it in next 5 mins. The car is executing. Exactly. Uniform motion makes sense and it is right choice. Question number 24. An object of mass 2 kg is sliding with a constant velocity of 4 ms1 on a frictionless horizontal table. The force required to keep the object moving with the same velocity is... Solid response. Zolan is a valid choice. Question number 25. If a lizard can run 8 m across the water in 4 seconds, how fast is he traveling? You chose 2 ms, and it is correct. Question number 26. A cup of coffee sits on the dashboard of an automobile. The car goes around a sharp curve. Even though you hold the cup still, coffee splashes out. This is explained due to... Excellent choice. Inertia is the right answer. Question number 27. If the man in the ball travels 90 in 9 seconds, what is their average speed? 10 ms is the answer. Question number 28. A force that opposes motion between a surface in contact with the atmosphere. Sharp thinking. Air resistance is the right choice. Question number 29. What is the net force on the block? Nicely done. 5 newtons up is a solid answer. Question number 30. A skater pushes another skater forward, but the one pushing moves backwards. Perfect. Newton's third law is the correct choice. Question number 31. If an object is stationary, the forces acting upon it are dash. Nicely done. Balanced is a solid answer. Question number 32. Person on the left equal to 45 non. Person on the right equal to 32 non. What is the net force? Nice selection. 13N is the correct and valid answer. Question number 33. When you push a boat off from the dock, you are demonstrating Newton's third law of motion. It simply states that for every action there is an equal and opposite dash.
Right again. Reaction is a valid answer.
Question number 34. A boy goes from A to B with a velocity of 20 miles in a min and comes back from B to A with a velocity of 30 miles min. The average velocity of the boy during the whole journey is... Good thinking. Twin form admin is the right answer.
Question number 35. The inertia of a moving object depends on I, mass of the objectee, momentum of the objectee, speed of the object ev, shape of the object. Choose the correct option.
Smart move. Only is an accurate answer.
Question number 36. The tendency of an object to resist changes in its motion is dash. Solid response. Inertia is a valid choice.
Question number 37. A student pushes a box to right with a force of 10 N, while a young boy pushes the box to the left with a force of 8 N. What is the sum of all forces on the box?
Bravo, twin right is the answer.
Question number 38. The formula. Equal to mass acceleration or equal to mexa is used to find.
You chose force, and it is correct. Question number 39. If a force of 26 N is exerted on two balls, one with a mass of 0.52 kg and the other with a mass of 0.78 kg, which ball will have the greater acceleration?
Valid point. Oh, 2 kg is true.
Question number 40. In a rocket, fuel burns at the rate of 1 cubis. This fuel is ejected from the rocket with a velocity of 60 km. This exerts a force on the rocket equal to.
Great job. 6,000 N is the accurate answer.
Question number 41. Why is it harder for the boy in image B to get down the hill?
Exactly. Friction makes sense, and it is right choice.
Question number 42. A hammer of mass 300 G, moving at 40 mbs, strikes a nail. The nail stops the hammer in a very short time of 0.02. The force of the nail on the hammer is.
Strong choice. 600 N is the right answer.
Question number 43. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction.
Correct. Newton's third law is the right answer.
Question number 44. Stacy is rowing a boat. She wants the boat to move forward. According to Newton's third law, in which direction should she move her paddle in the water?
On track? Backwards is the correct answer.
Question number 45. An object of mass 100 kg is accelerated uniformly from a velocity of 400 s to aments in 2 seconds. Calculate the initial and final momentum of the object.
Nice work. You chose 200 Nidden, and it is correct. Question number 46. During which interval or point is the object not moving?
Well picked. Only at point A is the correct answer.
Question number 47. The force that keeps satellites in orbit around Earth is.
Correct response. Gravity is the most accurate answer.
Question number 48. This game of tug of war is an example of dash forces.
Perfect. Unbalanced is the correct choice.
Question number 49. What is the net force and the direction of movement?
You're right. 50 newtons left is the correct answer. Question number 50. When a force is applied to a body of mass 2 kg, its velocity changes from 20 ms1 to 30 ms1 in 2s. The rate of change of momentum of the body is. Clear logic. Your choice 10N is sound and 100% true. Question number 51. Dash force is needed to move objects of larger mass.
Right choice. More is the best answer.
Question number 52. A bullet of mass 10 gm is fired with an initial velocity of 20 megases from a rifle of mass 4 kg. Calculate the initial recoil velocity of the rifle.
Sharp thinking. 5 ms is the right choice.
Question number 53. A water tanker filled up to 2 or 3 of its height is moving with a uniform speed.
On sudden application of the brake, the water in the tank would. Good job. Your answer move forward works well here. Question number 54. According to Newton's dash law of motion, when a hammer strikes and exerts force on a nail, the nail exerts an equal force back on the hammer. Well reasoned. Third is the correct choice. Question number 55. This force is caused by objects rubbing together. Well done. Friction is the right choice. Question number 56. What law of motion does this picture represent? Excellent. Newton's second law is a brilliant choice. Question number 57. A passenger in a moving train tosses a coin, which falls behind him. Observing this statement, what can you say about the motion of the train? You got it. Your choice accelerated is right. Question number 58. Rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force applied on the object in the direction of the force. This one is Newton's. Smart pick. Second law of motion is the correct choice. Question number 59. A boy of mass 50 kg is running at 5 interest jumps onto a 20 kg trolley traveling in the same direction at 1.5 undas. What is the common velocity? Excellent choice. 4 Mendes is the right answer. Question number 60. When a car at high speed makes a sharp turn, the driver in a car tends to get thrown to the side opposite to the turn. This is due to the great thinking. Inertia of motion is the right choice. Question number 61. The force of attraction between all matter. Great thinking. Gravity is the right choice. Question number 62. Which scientist gave us the laws of motion? Well done. Sir Isaac Newton is the right choice. Question number 63. Mass is a measure of an object's inertia. Objects with greater mass have a greater inertia. Objects with less mass have less inertia. Solid response. True is a valid choice. Question number 64. A person force falling on a cemented floor get injured, but a person falling on a heap of sand is not injured. Which law is used here? Nice selection. Second law of motion is the correct and valid answer. Question number 65. The tendency of a body to continue in its state of rest or of uniform motion, even on the application of external force, is known as.
Great job. Inertia is the accurate answer.
Question number 66. Newton's Dashy law of motion means that for every force there is a reaction force that is equal in size but opposite in direction. Exactly. Third makes sense and it is right choice. Question number 67. The speed of a car weighing 1500 z increases from 36 km/h to 72 km/h uniformly. What will be the change in momentum of the car? Sharp thinking. 15,000 kgs is the right choice. Question number 68. The masses of two bodies are in ratio 5q6 and their velocities are in ratio 1pu2. Then their linear momentum will be in the ratio. Right again. 512 is a valid answer. Question number 69. A baseball bat hits a baseball with a force of 100 newtons. What is the force and its direction exerted by the ball on the bat? Right choice. Opposite direction 100 N is the best answer. Question number 70. A rocket launches because of dash. Excellent choice. An opposite reaction is the right answer. Question number 71. A man is standing on a boat in still water. If he walks towards the shore, then the boat will away from shore it is example of. Clear logic. Your choice 3 is sound and 100% true. Question number 72. A gun of mass 1 kg fires 4 bullets per second each of mass 20 g with a velocity 300 mph. The force required to hold the gun is... Correct. 24N is the right answer. Question number 73. What is the acceleration of an object that takes 20 seconds to change from a speed of 200 meters second to 300 meters second?
Good job. Your answer 5 m² squared works well here.
Question number 74. If a net force of F was constantly applied on 200d object at rest, how long will it take to raise its velocity to 150 meters?
Perfect. 6 sec is the correct choice.
Question number 75. Any push or pull on an object.
Strong choice. Force is the right answer. Question number 76. There are 3 solid balls made up of aluminum, steel, and wood of same shape and volume. Which of them have highest inertia? You got it. Your choice steel is right.
Question number 77. Force equal to mass x acceleration.
Good thinking. Newton's second law is the right answer.
Question number 78. A ball is moving over a horizontal smooth surface with a constant velocity. What type of forces are acting on the body?
Well reasoned. Balanced force is the correct choice.
Question number 79. The linear momentum of an object is 250 cm. If the velocity of the object is 5 m², then the mass of the object is...
Excellent. 0.5 v is a brilliant choice.
Question number 80. Calculate the net force.
Nice work. You chose 60N, right, and it is correct.
Question number 81. If an object has a small mass, it wouldn't need as strong of a force to accelerate it. Which law does this describe?
Bravo. Newton's second law is the answer.
Question number 82. A bullet of mass 0.1 kg is fired with a speed of 100 ves, the mass of the gun being 50 kg. The velocity of recoil is...
You chose 0.2 ms and it is correct.
Question number 83. When a carpet is beaten with a stick, dust particle comes out. This phenomenon is an example of -L law of motion.
You're right. 1 is the correct answer.
Question number 84. A force of 20N acting on a body of mass 10 kg is found to double its velocity in ACE. Find its initial velocity.
Nicely done. 60 m² is a solid answer.
Question number 85. The velocity of a body of mass 20t decreases from 20 ms to 5 ms in a distance of 100 ms. Force on the body is... Correct response. 37.5 N is the most accurate answer. Question number 86. A ball of mass 2000 starting from rest moves with a speed of 5 ms for 10 seconds. Find the force acting on it.
Well picked. 1N is the correct answer.
Question number 87. A cricketer catches a ball of mass 150 Gs in 0.1s moving with a speed of 20 ms. Then he experiences a force of...
Valid point. 30N is true.
Question number 88. A passenger in a moving train tosses a coin which falls behind him. It means that motion of the train is... dash.
Smart move. Accelerated is an accurate answer.
Question number 89. If a boy pushes a wall with a force of 10N towards east, then the force exerted by the wall on the boy is dash.
Smart pick. 10N towards west is the correct choice.
Question number 90. According to second law of motion, the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the dash applied.
On track. Force is the correct answer.
Question number 91. Passengers standing in a bus are thrown outwards when the bus takes a turn suddenly.
This happens because of. Right choice. Inertia is the best answer. Question number 92. An external influence which changes or tends to change the state of rest or uniform motion of body is called. Great job. Force is the accurate answer. Question number 93. The speed of a car weighing 1500 as increases from 40 ds to 50 midas. Calculate the change in its momentum. Nice work. You chose 15 toneladas and it is correct.
Question number 94. The natural tendency of objects to resist a change in their state of rest or uniform motion is called dash.
Exactly. Inertia makes sense and it is right choice. Question number 95. If the mass of a body is doubled and its velocity becomes half, then the linear momentum of the body will. Valid point. Remain same is true. Question number 96. A force of 10N acts on a body of mass 20 kg for 10 seconds. The change produced in momentum is given by. Good job. Your answer 100 causes works well here. Question number 97. Equal and opposite forces acting on a body which do not change its state of rest or motion are called. Solid response. Balanced forces is a valid choice. Question number 98. A karate player breaks the pile of the tiles or bricks with a single blow. Which law is applied here? Right again. Second law is a valid answer.
Question number 99. When a cannon fires a cannonball, we observe Newton's third law. Which force is the reaction force?
On track. The cannon moving backward is the correct answer. Question number 100. Newton's second law states that greater the mass, the more dash will be needed to move the object. Strong choice. Force is the right answer.
Question number 101. A body of mass 3 kg retards uniformly from 40 miles to 10 ms in tenths. Find the retarding force.
Smart move. 9N is an accurate answer. Question number 102. If the mass of a body is doubled, its acceleration will be. Excellent. Becomes half is a brilliant choice. Question number 103. A force of magnitude of acts on a body of mass. The acceleration of the body depends upon. Correct response. Mass of body is the most accurate answer. Question number 104. People sitting in a moving bus experience a jerk when the bus stops. This is because of dash. Great thinking. Inertia of motion is the right choice. Question number 105. Which one needs a greater net force to move? A kilogram of feathers or a kilogram of iron? Good thinking. Same is the right answer. Question number 106. If you double the mass of an object with the same force apply on it, the acceleration will. Well picked. Cut in half is the correct answer. Question number 107. A gun mass 6 kg and bullet mass 4 g and bullet moving with 8 ms find recoil velocity of gun. See 0.05 must is a solid answer. Question number 108. A rubbing together force that slows things down and stops them. It works against motion. Smart pick. Friction is the correct choice. Question number 109. A mass is doubled and the net force is kept constant. The acceleration of the body dash. Well reasoned. Is halved is the correct choice. Question number 110. Keeping applied force constant. If you increase the mass on an object, its acceleration. Bravo. Decreases is the answer. Question number 111. When a 12N force acts on 3 kg mass for a second, the change in velocity is.
Correct. 4 is the right answer.
Question number 112. A body of mass 2 kg is moving with uniform velocity to a mass. Net force acting on it is.
Perfect. 0 is the correct choice. Question number 113. Name the type of forces acting on the body when resultant force is not equal to 0. You chose unbalanced force. And it is correct.
Question number 114. To every action there is equal and opposite reaction acting on 2 different bodies.
Well done. Third law of motion is the right choice.
Question number 115. According to Newton's second law, if you increase the force applied to an object, sharp thinking, it accelerates more is the right choice.
Question number 116. What is the tendency of a body to resist change in its state of motion called?
Excellent choice. Inertia is the right answer. Question number 117. Acceleration of an object depends on its dash, as well as the force exerted on it. You're right. Mass is the correct answer. Question number 118. The law of conservation states, without and dash momentum of a system remains dash. Nice selection. External force, unchanged, is the correct and valid answer. Question number 119. Forces that are equal in size but in opposite directions are called dash forces. Clear logic. Your choice balanced is sound and 100% true. Question number 120. Which has more momentum, a car stopped at a red light or a bike moving at 15 mph? You got it. Your choice bike is right.
Question number 121. A book weighs 4 N. When held at rest in your hands, the net force on the book is?
Well done. Zonen is the right choice.
Question number 122. A body in uniform motion will remain in uniform motion if we apply dash forces.
You're right. Balanced is the correct answer. Question number 123. Newton's third law states that any action will have a dash reaction.
Smart move. Equal and opposite is an accurate answer.
Question number 124. When a bus suddenly takes a turn, the passengers are thrown outwards because of.
You chose inertia of direction, and it is correct. Question number 125. The property of a body to resist any change in its state of motion is known as? Sharp thinking.
Inertia is the right choice.
Question number 126. Number of forces acting on a body changes velocity of the body. The forces are?
Well reasoned. Unbalanced is the correct choice.
Question number 127. The tendency of an object to resist a change in its state of motion is called?
Right choice. Inertia is the best answer.
Question number 128. When the resultant of the forces acting on the body is 0, these are called?
You got it. Your choice balanced force is right.
Question number 129. A hockey puck sliding across the ice is an example of this type of friction.
Nice work. You chose sliding and it is correct. Question number 130. A moving car suddenly stops, and the passengers tend to move forward due to. Nice selection. Inertia is the correct and valid answer.
Question number 131. If net force acting on object is 0, then the force is considered to be dash. Correct response. Balanced is the most accurate answer.
Question number 132.
when a carpet is beaten with a stick. Dust comes out of it is an example of. Nicely done. Inertia of rest is a solid answer.
Question number 133. Among the equal-sized stone and a football, the inertia will be higher of.
Well picked. Stone is the correct answer.
Question number 134. What causes the motion of a body which is initially in the state of rest?
Exactly. Force makes sense and it is right choice.
Question number 135. A bus travels 20 km in 30 minutes. What is the average speed of the bus?
Bravo, 40 km is the answer. Question number 136. Definition of momentum is the motion of a body is known as momentum. Strong choice. True is the right answer. Question number 137. The force with which an object slides on a frictionless table will be. Great thinking. Zone N is the right choice. Question number 138. Compared to its weight on Earth, a 10 kgs object on the moon will weigh. On track. Less is the correct answer.
Question number 139. A force must be physically touching an object in order to act on it.
Valid point. False is true.
Question number 140. Inertia is the tendency of an object to resist a change in its dash.
Right again. Motion is a valid answer.
Question number 141. What is the total momentum of the bullet and the gun before firing?
Excellent. Zoe is a brilliant choice. Question number 142. Which has more mass? A kilogram of feathers or a kilogram of iron? Solid response. Neither is a valid choice. Question number 143. Which type of force will cause a change in an object's motion? Good job. Your answer, unbalanced forces, works well here.
Question number 144. A body at rest will come in motion if we apply dash forces on it.
Great job. Unbalanced is the accurate answer.
Question number 145. If I threw a rock in space, what force would be acting against it?
Smart pick. Nothing is the correct choice. Question number 146. The tendency of an object to stay in motion or at rest is called. Good thinking. Inertia is the right answer.
Question number 147. The tendency of a body to resist its change of state is known as.
Excellent choice. Inertia is the right answer. Question number 148. When you tell the direction and speed of an object, you give its. Perfect. Velocity is the correct choice. Question number 149. The momentum of an object depends upon the object's dash and dash. Clear logic. Your choice, mass and velocity is sound and 100% true. Question number 150. The gravity between two objects depends on the distance and dash. Correct. Mass is the right answer. Question number 151. Balanced forces do not change the state of motion of an object. Strong choice. True is the right answer. Question number 152. If you multiple velocity by mass, you will get the object's dash. Ash. Smart move. Momentum is an accurate answer. Question number 153. The property of an object at rest to remain at rest is known as. Right choice. Inertia is the best answer. Question number 154. The tendency of an object to just keep doing what it is doing. You chose inertia, and it is correct.
Question number 155. Mass of object is doubled, then force of the object is dash.
Excellent choice. Doubled is the right answer. Question number 156. When we talk about a force acting on a body, it usually means... Correct. Unbalanced force is the right answer. Question number 157. Why do leaves fall from branches when it is shaken vigorously? Exactly. Inertia of rest makes sense and it is right choice. Question number 158. Complete the law. For every action, there is a dash reaction. Nice selection. Equal and opposite is the correct and valid answer. Question number 159. According to Newton's laws, for every action there is a dash. Solid response. Equal and opposite reaction is a valid choice. Question number 160. An object at rest will dash if no outside forces are applied. Nicely done. Stay at rest is a solid answer. Question number 161. What is the force that slows down and gradually stops motion? Right again. Friction is a valid answer. Question number 162. An object continues to stay in motion unless dash is applied. You got it. Your choice external force is right. Question number 163. Newton's first law of motion is also called Galileo's law of. Correct response. Inertia is the most accurate answer. Question number 164. Two equal forces acting in opposite directions on an object. You're right. Balanced force is the correct answer. Question number 165. What factor will slow down an object moving through space? Good job. Your answer, another object, works well here. Question number 166. How much force acts on a body whose momentum is constant? On track. 0 is the correct answer. Question number 167. If net force on an object is 0, it is considered to be... Bravo. Having balanced force is the answer. Question number 168. The second law of motion gives the relationship between... Nice work. You chose force and acceleration and it is correct.
Question number 169. The forces are said to be balanced if net force is dash.
Well reasoned. Zo is the correct choice. Question number 170. When the force on a car is doubled, the acceleration is... Perfect. Doubled is the correct choice. Question number 171. If you increase the mass on an object, its acceleration... Great thinking. Decreases is the right choice. Question number 172. The unit of measuring the momentum of a moving body is... Great job. B keys EMZ is the accurate answer. Question number 173. Acceleration is due to a force put on an object's mass. Good thinking. Pier is the right answer. Question number 174. Stone 50 g of wood, which one having more inertia dash? Smart pick. Stone is the correct choice. Question number 175. Which of these undergo a change when force is applied? Clear logic. Your choice, all of the above, is sound and 100% true. Question number 176. A body whose momentum is constant must have constant. Valid point. Velocity is true. Question number 177. What is the correct equation of second law of motion? Well picked. F equal to on is the correct answer. Question number 178. Recoiling of gun is an example of dash law of motion.
Sharp thinking. An offer is the right choice.
Question number 179. Rocket works on the principle of conservation of a dash. Well done. Momentum is the right choice. Question number 180. Effective action of no net force acting on an object.
Excellent. First law of motion is a brilliant choice.
Question number 181. What is the product of an object's mass and velocity? Good job. Your answer momentum works well here. Question number 182. Dash is a force that acts in opposition to movement. Excellent. Friction is a brilliant choice.
Question number 183. A change in speed or direction, a change in velocity.
Well picked. Acceleration is the correct answer. Question number 184. The sum of all forces acting on an object. Well done. Net force is the right choice. Question number 185. Which law of motion is also called law of inertia? Perfect. Law 1 is the correct choice. Question number 186. Newton used the word mass in motion to represent. Right again. Linear momentum is a valid answer. Question number 187. Friction and gravity are both examples of a force. Solid response. True is a valid choice. Question number 188. Newton's first law of motion is also known as dash. Nice work. You chose law of inertia and it is correct. Question number 189. Which type of force is used when you open a door? Sharp thinking. Applied force is the right choice. Question number 190. In the equation F equal to ma, what does it represent? Clear logic. Your choice acceleration is sound and 100% true. Question number 191. Acceleration due to gravity. G is dasham sec 2. Good thinking. 9.8 is the right answer. Question number 192. What is the standard unit force is measured in? You're right. Newtons is the correct answer. Question number 193. The force that draws all objects towards Earth. Smart move. Gravity is an accurate answer. Question number 194. What is Newton's first law known as? The law of? Strong choice. Inertia is the right answer. Question number 195. What is the change in velocity divided by time? Smart pick. Acceleration is the correct choice.
Question number 196. Force cannot change the velocity of an object.
Great job. False is the accurate answer.
Question number 197. Only one force can act on an object at a time. Correct. False is the right answer. Question number 198. If a man jumps out from a boat, the boat moves. Well reasoned. Backwards is the correct choice. Question number 199. What factors does the inertia of body depends? Great thinking. It depends on mass is the right choice. Question number 200. What is the formula for calculating momentum? Right choice. P equal tomv is the best answer. Question number 201. Momentum is related to Newton's first law. Nice selection. True is the correct and valid answer. Question number 202. Direction of momentum is direction of dash. Valid point. Velocity is true. Question number 203. The product of velocity and mass is called? Nicely done. Momentum is a solid answer. Question number 204. Which force produces the change in motion?
You chose unbalanced force, and it is correct.
Question number 2 and 5. Friction always acts on the dash direction.
You got it. Your choice opposite is right.
Question number 2 and 6. During a collision, dash is always constant.
Correct response. Momentum is the most accurate answer.
Question number 2 and 7. Rockets work on the principle of Newton's.
Bravo. Third law is the answer.
Question number 208. The inertia of a moving object depends on.
Exactly. Mass of the object makes sense, and it is right choice.
Question number 219. Objects with greater inertia have greater.
Excellent choice. Mass is the right answer.
Question number 210. Newton's second law gives the measure of.
On track. Force is the correct answer.
Question number 211. Inertia is directly proportional to dash.
Good job. Your answer mass works well here.
Question number 2 you heard of. Speed is different from velocity because.
Well done. Velocity has a direction is the right choice.
Question number 213. Who formulated the 3 laws of motion?
Great job. Isaac Newton is the accurate answer.
Question number 214. Rate of change of momentum is equal to.
Smart move. Force is an accurate answer.
Question number 215. Momentum is defined as the product of.
Nice work. You chose mass and velocity, and it is correct.
Question number 216. What law is best described by inertia?
Great thinking. One stem is the right choice.
Question number 217. Pushing a door open is an example of.
Valid point. Contact force is true.
Question number 218. What is a push or pull of an object?
Nice selection. Force is the correct and valid answer.
Question number 219. What are different types of inertia?
Bravo. All of these is the answer.
Question number 220. Newton's first law is also known as.
Solid response. Law of inertia is a valid choice.
Question number 221. Which law of motion defines force?
Smart pick. Second law of motion is the correct choice.
Question number 222. What is the unit to measure force?
Correct. Newton is the right answer.
Question number 223. Motion first equation of motion is.
Good thinking. V equal 2 plus at is the right answer.
Question number 224. Can momentum be lost or destroyed?
Right again. No is a valid answer.
Question number 225. Object's tendency to resist change.
Nicely done. Inertia is a solid answer.
Question number 226. The SI units for force are dash.
Excellent choice. Newton's is the right answer.
Question number 227. The SI unit of force is dash.
Sharp thinking. Newton is the right choice.
Question number 228. What is the formula for force?
Well reasoned. F equal Tomga is the correct choice.
Question number 229. A force that opposes motion is.
Well picked. Friction is the correct answer.
Question number 230. SI unit of linear momentum is.
Correct response. kgms is the most accurate answer. Question number 231. Forces do not occur in pairs. Exactly. False makes sense and it is right choice.
Question number 232. Momentum is a dash quantity.
Right choice. Vector is the best answer. Question number 233. Swimming can be explained by... You got it. Your choice third law of motion is right. Question number 234. Which factor affects inertia? Clear logic. Your choice mass is sound and 100% true. Question number 235. Momentum is represented with... Strong choice. P is the right answer.
Question number 236. Motion's first equation is...
You chose V equal 2 plus at, and it is correct. Question number 237. Newton's third law is about... On track. Action and reaction is the correct answer. Question number 238. Which has more inertia dash? You're right. Truck is the correct answer. Question number 239. Psi unit of impulse is dash. Perfect. NM is the correct choice. Question number 240. What is the unit of force? Excellent. Newton is a brilliant choice.
Question number 241. Force is a dash quantity.
Right choice. Vector is the best answer.
Question number 242. Friction is a dash force.
You chose contact force. And it is correct. Question number 243. Inertia depends on dash. Nice work. You chose mass and it is correct. Question number 244. Forces are measured in... Well done. Newton's is the right choice. Question number 245. Speed plus direction. Correct. Velocity is the right answer.
Question number 246. And units of inertia.
Perfect. kg is the correct choice.
Question number 247. Inertia can be of...
Clear logic. Your choice all of these types is sound and 100% true. Question number 248. A force is a dash. You're right. Both A and B is the correct answer.
Question number 249. Force is equal to...
You got it? Your choice mass, acceleration, is right. Question number 250. 20N is the dash. Strong choice. Force is the right answer.
Question number 251. Momentum formula.
Sharp thinking. P equal Tom is the right choice. Question number 252. What is a force? Smart pick. All of these is the correct choice. Question number 253. A force can be... Valid point. Both of these is true.
Question number 254. Force equal to dash.
Good thinking. Both A and B is the right answer. Question number 255. Fab equal to dash. Well reasoned. FB is the correct choice.
Question number 256. How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format.
Nicely done. Contact Narayan Changder on Facebook is a solid answer.